Imagine waking up every morning under the same blazing sun, no matter what time it is. There is no sunset, no evening, no stars, just a sky that never dims. Welcome to the day side. Meanwhile, on the other side of the planet, it's perpetual night, a place where the sun is only a myth told by the elders, a world split in two, not by politics or oceans, but by light. Now, this isn't just poetic. Let's say, for the sake of this mental experiment, that the Earth suddenly stops rotating on its axis, not gradually, not with time to adjust, but abruptly, like someone hit the planetary pause button. The Earth still revolves around the sun every year, but it no longer spins daily. One hemisphere is locked in constant sunlight, while the other remains frozen in eternal darkness. To understand what would happen, let's take a deep breath, then hold it. Because the atmosphere, it's about to panic. Earth's rotation is what helps distribute heat, regulate winds, and keep the climate somewhat survivable. When we stop that rotation, air currents shift dramatically. On the day side, the sun beats down endlessly. With no night to cool things off, temperatures skyrocket. Deserts swell, oceans begin to boil at the surface, and previously temperate regions like Europe or North America slowly become uninhabitable infernos. The heat creates enormous columns of rising air, forming permanent storm systems. Giant hurricanes, the size of continents, swirling lazily in place because there's no Coriolis effect to break them apart. Meanwhile, on the night side, things aren't exactly cozy either. With no sunlight at all, the temperature plummets to subarctic levels. Oceans freeze over, forests die. Cities are buried under layers of snow and ice. Power grids collapse under the strain of trying to heat places that never thaw. The only thing glowing in this eternal night? The auroras, beautiful, shimmering, and absolutely useless for warmth. But the real chaos starts in the twilight zone, the narrow band around the terminator line, the eternal sunset. This is the only place where temperatures are relatively stable. Here, you'd have dim orange skies 24/7, mild climates, and a desperate migration of every living thing trying to squeeze into this sliver of livability. Cities would have to be rebuilt. Agriculture would collapse in both day and night zones. In the sun, plants would burn or dry up. In the dark, nothing could grow without artificial light. The twilight zone, however, would be a gold mine for photosynthesis. There, you might see vertical farms, glowing towers, greenhouses lining every horizon. Wars would be fought not over oil, but over habitable land in this golden hour belt. Human behavior would also change. With the sky no longer marking time, concepts like morning and evening would become meaningless. Your internal body clock? Fried. Societies might have to invent entirely new ways of measuring time. You might wake up at Alpha 12 and go to work at Gamma 3. Good luck explaining that to your grandma. On the day side, solar power would be abundant at first, but you'd have to shield infrastructure from the constant bombardment of radiation and heat. Asphalt would melt, metal would warp. You'd have to bury entire cities underground or coat them in reflective materials just to survive. Ironically, you could use the same sun that's trying to kill you to power the air conditioning that keeps you alive. On the night side, nuclear and geothermal energy would become critical, maybe even giant mirrors in orbit, bouncing sunlight over to cities buried in the dark. Of course, those mirrors would have to survive massive debris fields, constant maintenance, and, oh right, humanity's inability to agree on anything space-related. And let's not forget the oceans. On the day side, the top layers heat up, expanding and rising. On the night side, they freeze and contract. This imbalance would generate massive ocean currents, violent storms, and probably some truly terrifying creatures evolving in the warm twilight waters where both forces collide. Animal migration? That's over. Birds that used to follow the seasons now have nowhere to go. They either adapt or die. Insects might thrive in the twilight zone and create new super swarms. Think locusts, but with ambitions. Marine life might cluster around geothermal vents in the night oceans, while shallow tropical species get cooked into extinction on the sunny shores. Over generations, human populations would cluster around the habitable band. There, life would be possible. Not easy, but possible. Language, culture, economy, all of it would begin to revolve around light. Wars over access to the twilight would dominate global politics. Some might try to colonize underground caves on the hot side or build warm ice cities on the cold one. But nothing would be as stable as that thin orange ring. Eventually, evolution would catch up. People on the day side might develop
darker, thicker skin to block radiation. Those on the night side might grow paler, more sensitive eyes, maybe even enhanced hearing. Imagine a world where humans are divided not by countries, but by which half of Earth their ancestors survived on. Would we still be united as a species? Or would we become two very different versions of humanity, the burnt and the frozen? Of course, all of this hinges on the idea that Earth could somehow stop spinning without flinging every city, ocean, and human off the surface like a high-speed merry-go-round, ejecting its passengers. In reality, if the rotation stopped suddenly, inertia would rip apart the crust, triggering earthquakes, megatsunamis, and the worst rollercoaster ride of all time. But assuming we survive the stop, what you'd be left with is a planet in balance, not in harmony, but in a fragile tug-of-war between fire and ice, between constant noon and eternal midnight, between madness and adaptation. And maybe, just maybe in the golden haze of the Twilight Zone, someone would look up and think, hey, at least I never have to set an alarm again.